And good afternoon, everyone. Well, good evening. I guess it's the evening. And this is March 20th, 2023, meeting of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. I will call the meeting to order. She put a gavel way down there, so I won't gavel y'all tonight. And I'd like to welcome everybody here. Just in case, I am not Chairwoman Tony Stewart, but she will be here briefly. She is, she's been a whirlwind traveler today. She flew out and went to D.C. on behalf of county business to meet with the Department of Energy. She had a good meeting up with the Department of Energy today. They flew back into Raleigh-Durham, and they are on their way. Her and Assistant Manager Sally Shutt are on their way back to Cumberland County. So she should be here briefly. She better hurry up, though, because this meeting may not last but so long. Y'all know I will move a meeting in a minute. So we're going to have an invocation, by Miss Lovely Tiffany Saunders. She goes to New Century. She's going to come and give us our invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. Miss Tiffany, come right up here. And if everybody would please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the many blessings you have given us. We ask that you would lead our leaders as they make decisions for our county. We pray that they would be the example for our state and country. Please allow our meeting tonight to be productive and meaningful. Thank you for everything. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Amen. If you stay back there, that is about the best one. You need to come with her.
We're supposed to stand in front of the chairs and behind the chairs. Does it matter?
In front of the chair.
Well, you know I'm going to get a picture up here now. Don't worry about it.
Don't sit down yet.
Don't sit down here. All right, Miss Tiffany, come right here. Trinity, right here. Don't y'all get me. Mom said, don't get it wrong now. Tell her I'm going to get a picture right here.
That's right. Confused her with the judge.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's good.
And her mom, y'all want, come on up, they want a picture too. Come on, y'all. Bring it down to me, that's good. The one thing they do know is I like to take some pictures. Don't worry about that. Y'all know that, right? Everybody knows that.
Hey, how you doing?
All right.
We got the upper budget.
Yes. Thank you.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
And I will tell you, Dad, if you want to just take that microphone, introduce yourself and your wife, and I think your son's here too.
Thank you. My name is Richard Saunders Jr. That's my wife, Irisha Saunders, my son, Tyler Saunders, and of course, my daughter, Trinity Saunders. Thank
All
you,
right.
guys.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
So now y'all make sure y'all tell Chairwoman Stewart I took care of you all, because she made sure when she called me on that telephone, she said, you make her feel special. So Trinity, I hope you do feel special, because you are special, and thank you so very much for being here with us tonight. All right, that will take us to our Fayetteville Cumberland County youth members. And today we have Dana Allison and, there you go,
Good evening. My name is Dayana Allison. I'm a junior at Cumberland International Early College High School, and I'm a member of the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council.
And my name is Hunter Strada. I'm a junior at Fayetteville Academy and Sergeant at Arms of the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council.
We are excited to join you all this evening and provide a report on what FCYC has participated in the last few months.
February is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. FCYC created several opportunities to educate teens both in the council and in the community. During February's meetings, FCYC presented activities and presentations to educate teens on detecting unhealthy relationships, supporting their peers experiencing teen dating violence, glorification of domestic violence in the media, teen dating violence from a male perspective, and readily available resources for teens. FCYC also hosted a Galentine's paint party to educate girls in the community about teen dating violence and create awareness posts on social media. You can see these materials on our Instagram page at NCFCYC or our Facebook page, the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council.
Additionally, in the month of February, FCYC sent a delegation to attend the North Carolina State Youth Council Team Building Conference in Raleigh. As 2002 recipients of the Most Outstanding Youth Council Award, FCYC sets the standard for how to behave as student leaders. We always look forward to these events.
Thank you for your continuous support of the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council, and we thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak.
Well, you know, we can't just pass over the fact, and you read it very well, but the Most Outstanding Youth Council Award, that's for all the youth councils in the state of North Carolina. So that is, look, y'all, that requires. I did take some pictures earlier, but I got to go give them this. And we do have certificates of appreciation for Fayetteville Youth Council members for outstanding service as a voice for youth in the Cumberland County community and for focusing on the betterment and promotion of our community from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners dated this 20th day of March 2023, signed by Dr. Tony Stewart, Chairwoman, Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. Thank you. Right up here. If y'all come right up here to get another picture.
One, two, three.
Top of my head.
If you have a copy of our agenda, you will see that the next recognition is Ms. Vivian Toots. We're going to actually move that because Councilwoman Tony Stewart wanted to make sure that she was here to be able to do that. I've already talked to Ms. Toots, so the rest of the ladies, if y'all would just bear with us, y'all can watch the rest of our meeting. So with that, that takes us to our public comment period. Do we have any speakers, Madam Clerk?
We have 3 speakers.
All righty. If your clock's working. Your clock's not open.
I have it here, I'm not sure why it's not displayed. Danny, it's not on over here. It's on here, but it's not displayed right there, is that okay? The clock is not on.
There you go. I'll call on the county manager, Mr. Greer, to read the public comment policy.
The guidelines for the public comment period are as follows. The public comment period shall last no longer than 15 minutes. The time may be extended with the discretion of the board. Each speaker will have a maximum of 3 minutes to make remarks until the 15-minute time limit is obtained. At no time may be yielded to the speaker by another speaker. Speakers will be acknowledged by the board in the order in which their names appear on the sign-up sheet. Speakers will address the board from the lectern, and they begin their remarks by stating their name and their address.
All right. Are there any speakers, Madam Clerk?
We have 3 speakers.
All right, if you call the first speaker.
Mr. Ron Ross,
Mr. Ross.
Well, I want to thank you for having me here today. My name is Ron Ross. I live at 6542 Celestial Pine Drive. Hope Mill's address, but I live in Grays Creek. I try never to discuss stuff that I'm personally involved in, but I am personally involved in Grays Creek and Gen X and the water, and I wrote everything down so it wouldn't go over 3 minutes. When a corporation damages our environment, we the people pay for it. Higher costs, taxes, federal, state, city, county, but we pay for it. Our county commissioners say they know someone with Gen X in their water, but they aren't the ones that drink the water, bathe in the water, or water the lawns in the water. Kilmore/DuPont has ads on television. They say that they are a good neighbor. That line should be used on Saturday Night Live. Because of Kilmore/DuPont, to me they're one, the county needs a county-wide water system. You probably already know that. Again, tax dollars. I'm glad that the Federal Observer, WRTV, and Goldie, which is Jeff Goldberg has a morning show, I'm glad that they keep bringing it to the attention of everybody because it is the biggest issue that Cumberland County has to face. In the Federal Observer on January 6, 2020, the county commissioners approved $10.5 million during water lines out to Grays Creek, but especially 2 schools, Grays Creek Elementary School and Alderman Elementary School. Not one pipeline has been laid as of today. These schools' wells haven't been retested. As of January 2023, their water has not been retested for Gen X. I know that for a fact. I talked to people in the county. These children are given bottled water every day. My grandson goes to Alderman. They're given bottled water every day, and he asked me a question. I didn't have the answer for him. He said, we're not supposed to drink the water from the water fountains. I said, that's right, but we can wash our hands in it. I said, that's true. And they, in the cafeteria, they wash their dishes and stuff in it. I said, that's true. He said, well, then why can't we drink it? The school, okay, before, skip the place here. Before the first brick is laid on your new Performing Arts Center, and I've worked with kids for over 54 years through my job, before the first brick is laid on your Performing Arts Center, I think those 2 schools deserve safe water in their schools. And if not, and I don't dislike any of it.
I'll let you finish that
But
sentence.
if not, I think y'all should resign from your job.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Gary Geralds,
Mr. Jury.
Hello, how y'all doing?
Good evening.
Can y'all hear me clear?
Yes, sir.
My name is Gary Geralds. I reside
You can
off
pull it up, that mic up a little bit if you want.
I reside off 414 Redfin Drive, but I want to talk about Sapona Road. In 2021, the landlord over there at Cattell Circle was able to draw a lot of RAT funds from the community over there. After this guy does this, he gets a fat PPP loan, and then he raises the rent on all the residents from $400 to over $1,000. There's 25 to 30 families that's displaced. There's no news crews over there. nobody's reporting or saying anything about what's happening over there. I feel like the people that are supposed to be fighting and speaking for us are not saying anything. When I come into these buildings and these halls and I ask questions, the help that you get is kind of little. I want to thank Ms. Kemp, who was in office in 2021. I think it was in June. It was like 3 or 4 weeks we were just left in our trash over there. Like they wouldn't even come collect the trash. And I had to come up to the 5th floor and knock on the door. I can't look like y'all all the time because I work, so I'm coming straight here from work. I just feel like that area, that side of town is being forgot about. And I know y'all have a lot of other pressing issues, but I do not think this man should be able to pocket government and county funds and go on vacations. Like all the investigations there's nowhere really to lean. They're sending us to Raleigh. They're sending us to doors where people are barely answering the door. I do want to thank the county manager who took time out his schedule last week to speak with me, Ms. Kemp and Ms. Price. But over there, like we're being beat on. If everyone understands what being beat on means, right? We're being beat on over there, and there's no one's fighting for us. And this guy's like buying new cars, new lives. You know, I feel like I'm displaced from my family out here because I had to come and help my father who had a heart attack in 2021. So as I'm coming in and trying to take over everything, like they're going door to door promoting that all the residents use this RAP funds. So after he collected all of the funds, he sold the trailer park. And as of a couple of weeks ago, come to find out, this same guy owns that same trailer park. It was like a ploy to move people out because he knew he couldn't raise the rent on them. My dad stayed there since 2008 and paid $400 until this happened. So now that he's disabled and he's only on a subsidized income or what have you, it's a little harder for him and the people that are over there. Sorry to take up your time, and I'll have to get back because I have another job to go to. And thank y'all.
You're welcome. Our next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Miss Carolyn Hamilton.
Good afternoon, everyone. To the Board of Commissioners, in the absence of Ms. Jones, Ms. Stewart, how you doing, Mr. Bruce? Commissioner Adams.
Good evening, Ms. Hamilton.
Yes. My name's Carolyn Hamilton. I'm a registered voter.
Wait a minute. They went to zero too quick on you. Go ahead now. Go ahead.
Okay. Do you have a package?
They're all.
Already
Okay,
got
can I
it.
get a copy of that, please? I got a package. My name's Carolyn Hamilton. I'm a registered voter of Cumberland County, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I've been here about 8 years. I have a situation in Cumberland County with Fayetteville Police Department, Sheriff Phoenix Wright, former Chief Genevieve Hawkins, Dr. Anthony Wade. In 2020, my car was vandalized twice at my garage. At the time, I was living at 363 Tucson. I'm on Kildare Drive now. I reported these crimes to the police department. Also, in 2020, I was a former member, unquote, of Simon Temple. Ryan R. Thompson Sr. had a deputy sheriff throw me out of the parking lot in the presence of his congregation. I am being bullied, victimized all over Cumberland County. I've tried to meet with Sheriff Phoenix Wright. He's refusing to meet with me. I met with him at the Hate You Give in 2019 with Dr. Anthony Wade, Sheriff Phoenix Wright, and James Nolan. You have a package of some of the things that's been happening to me. I'm just going to read over it. Also, I bought a copy of the police report, unquote, of the vandalization of my car. But what's going on in Fayetteville, North Carolina? I am being bullied all over Fayetteville, North Carolina, over the county. I am being bullied in the city. I am being bullied by the deputy sheriffs, by the police department, and Sheriff Phoenix Wright. I did an ethics complaint against Chief Genevieve Hawkins before she resigned. I've addressed Councilman. I met her at First of Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, I addressed her on some of the things that was happening to me. In the past, I've met Councilman Booth. I am being tortured, victimized. My family was stolen from me. I am being
Okay,
treated
talk to us up here. And
I am
use the
being
microphone,
treated-
because it's on the thing.
worse than any human being in the history of this earth, with the exception of Jesus Christ, because my life is being intentionally victimized and stolen. I have continuously went to the Federal Bureau of Investigations. I have called them several times. And at the time when I first started noticing it, Dr. Anthony Wade, I was in the city council.
I'll let you finish. Go ahead, you finish that last.
I was in the city council meetings, and he was the human resource for the city, but something he worked with the county as well. When I spoke with Ms. Beebe, Andrea Beebe, is that correct? Tebby. She kind of explained to me what Dr. Anthony Wade actually did. Now Sheriff Phoenix Wright I'm being bullied. I am being bullied at the library.
Well, thank you. Your 3 minutes are up. That's all I can give you is 3 minutes, because I give everybody 3 minutes. Thank
Can I
you so
give
very
you
much.
these reports that?
This one? Oh, you got another one?
It's with the car.
Give it to her and she'll pass it around to
Okay.
us. Thank you, Ms. Hamilton. I think that's your pen.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll pass these out.
It's 2 separate days.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hamilton.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that good?
Yes, it is.
Could you make copies of the rest of it?
I can't right now because
Well,
it's
that's
in the
fine.
meeting.
Thank you.
Three.
Yes, please.
All right, that will take us to the approval of the agenda. I'll call on the county manager. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No, Vice Chair Adams.
All righty.
Move for approval, sir.
Well, I have one thing I'd like to pull off the consent agenda, item 3B. All right, yes, sir. Mr.
And I'd like to pull 3A and E2.
3A
Are we
and
just
E.
approving the agenda?
That's what I thought, but
Are we just approving the agenda, or are we approving the consent?
Well, if you approve the agenda, so.
Oh, okay,
consent agenda, I guess you
I'm tracking,
can do-
I'm tracking. Okay, I
yeah.
got you, yes, sir.
So just to pull those,
Pull
so
A
that's
and B.
3AB and E2 on the consent agenda. That's what he's pulling off the consent
You good
agenda.
with Orange Street?
Huh?
You good with Orange Street?
I'm good with
All
that.
right, okay.
But he wanted to pull.
Oh, okay.
You pulled it? Okay. With that, Commissioner Fairclough, motion to approve?
My motion is to approve the agenda. When we get to consent agenda, we can pull those items.
It's the same either way.
We're not changing the agenda.
Well, just saying it's either way. Is the second, all those in favor?
For the record, who was our second?
Commissioner Council.
Unanimous?
All right. So that will take us to the presentations. I call on the county manager for the audit.
Yes, Vice Chairman Adams, we have for the presentation the fiscal year 2022 compliance audit, and it'll be presented by Cherry Beckert. We have April Adams here, partner with Cherry Beckert here to present. Additionally, for any additional questions, Brian Haney will be here, Assistant County Manager, to answer any additional questions that you may have.
Good evening. Can
Good
you hear me?
evening.
Good evening.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I'm back. Back to finish it up. I promise
All
I
right,
would come
this is
back.
it?
This is it.
All righty.
I don't know if they're gonna, there we go. All right, so this is the presentation of just the single audit results. I was here a couple months ago and gave you the results of the financial audit. This is just coming in to finish up on the single audit side. So what I'd like to cover with you tonight is just identify what the major programs were that were tested of the federal and state dollars that the county administers for the June 30th, 22 fiscal year. And then I'd like to just cover the results of the single audit itself. So first, you'll see here that we did test 6 different major programs as far as federal programs: the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, which is also known as the ARPA funds, the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, the Child Support Enforcement Program, Medicaid, the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, as well as the Epidemiology Lab Capacity Program. Also on the state side, we tested 3 programs. We count DSS cross-cutting as a state program. That is the testing of all the administrative dollars as far as all the programs that go through the Form 1571. We also tested the Juvenile Crime Prevention Program and the State Foster Care and Guardianship Associated Benefits. So we covered quite a lot. It wasn't all of it, but quite a bit. The results of the single audit, as I mentioned, we have finally completed the compliance audit for the year. We do that audit in accordance with the OMB Uniform Grant Guidance, as well as the State Single Audit Implementation Act. And we issued both those reports dated March 9th of 2023. It's a federal report and a state compliance report. Those are unmodified reports, so those are a clean opinion in plain language. But we did cite 2 findings as far as internal controls, and I'll go over those on the next slide. Both of these findings relate to the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. The first finding is what we call a material weakness over eligibility. Basically, what it is that we were not able to find supporting documentation that each person who received ERAP funds for 54 out of the 60 cases that we tested, we couldn't. There was no support that showed that the quality review actually happened. So, when we come into audit, if you can't provide the supporting documentation that happened, either the sign off on a file or some kind of electronic signature, then we can't say that it actually happened. We don't have the proof to support it. So that's where that finding comes in. The second finding we call a non-material non-compliance over eligibility. This is where, based on testing of the 60 files that we tested, one of them, the supporting documentation didn't support the rent paid in arrears. And so we cited that as a finding, so 1 out of 60. Also, just wanted to follow up on the findings that were issued in the prior year as far as a single audit goes. We do report in the report. We follow up on whether they were corrected or not. All 3 findings reported in the 2021 report we deemed to be corrected, so we reported that as well. I think before you tonight, you have a response to the LGC based on the financial performance indicators. This is actually kind of a wrap-up of the financial audit. As you know, the audit was late. Most of that is on us. But unfortunately, it causes you to have to write a response on how you plan on correcting that going forward. I do believe that that's been addressed in the letter that you'll be submitting to the LGC. And that is all I had for you tonight. Any questions?
Commissioner Keith.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for coming in. Yeah, the whole ARPA funds was a constant juggle of different rules coming in monthly. I'm a bit concerned because one of the things we heard many, many times on ARP is if your expenses are not qualified, you will have to pay them back. By you not having the funding on these, basically, of the 60 cases you selected, 90% of them did not have supporting documentation. How exposed are we on having to pay all that rental assistance money back?
So the finding that I gave was not that they weren't supported. They were supported, every single one of them that we looked at, except for the one instance on the second finding, had support. Like, we actually had to look and looked at the support for all of those cases. What I'm saying is that part of the internal controls is that there'll be a caseworker, let's say, that goes through and puts all the support together. Usually that gets reviewed by someone before it actually goes out the door and gets paid, correct?
Okay.
There's no documentation exists that review happened. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I just don't have the support that it did.
I'm more concerned about what the federal government's going to say did or did not happen, because that will be the
They will
person.
read that finding in that manner.
But it says county could not provide supporting documentation of the quality reviews that took place over each case for 54 of the 60.
And so that is an internal control. So that was the control that was in place to ensure that you spent the money right. But as I tested each one of those cases that wasn't reviewed, only one of them had an issue. So we're required, as part of the audit, is to look at the actual expenses as well as the control environment. And what I'm saying is that your control environment had a material weakness as far as documentation of the quality reviews.
So were we doing it incorrectly?
I think it's just, it was a system issue with the contractor that couldn't provide the support.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Booth.
Okay. Did you give a recommendation on how we can do that? Do we need another person? Do we need another financial person with Vicky or something? Or
So-
where do we fill in that plug?
As-
90% wrong. I mean,
So they had to do with the cases that were handled by the contractor. So as soon as the case is turned over to the DSS, the 6 that didn't have a finding were done by DSS because they could provide the supporting documentation. So it's been fixed now that it's over on the DSS, and DSS has been handling ERAP since.
okay, and then the one that was wrong, was that missing a receipt? The receipt and the funds didn't match? Somebody that didn't have authority to sign it signed it? Nobody signed it and they're supposed to? What was the one? What was the issue?
The supporting documentation did not support the rental payment in arrear, so just the documentation, it didn't add up.
They messed up that one.
Right.
Okay.
And that was through the contractor.
That was
Yeah.
a case handled by the contractor.
All
yes.
all of these were, once it got to us, it was corrected.
There were no issues on the 6 DSS cases that we tested.
Thank you. Can I follow up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Regardless of the contractor, though, aren't we ultimately responsible
That's
for the
correct.
funds?
That's correct.
Okay. And forgive me for the persistence here, but I'm also chair of the ARP committee. And we took painstaking, detailed on all of this to make sure that when we realized the contractor was not able to properly perform, that's when we moved to DSS, which it sounds like was the best move to make. But all the funds, there was a pretty significant amount of funds that came in through the contractor.
In my personal opinion, I think the reviews happened. They just couldn't provide the documentation, which, when you're an auditor, it
Right.
means it didn't happen. Under the Yellow Book standards and the uniform guidance, that's what we have to work with. So it's just an unfortunate thing that the system used couldn't provide that electronic sign-off. It just wasn't enough support.
So will we need your audit, though, to move forward with federal government to justify our expenses?
I think that if they see the material weakness and they come in and ask questions, they'll come to the same conclusion.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? In your packet, you saw the letter to the local government commission, which is why the audit was late. If I can get a motion, if you've read it, it has to the local government commission and an action plan, and it has a signature page for each one of us to sign. If I can get a motion for us to be able to sign that letter to the local government commission.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor? All right.
Unanimous?
Thank you so very much. All right. That takes us to the consent agenda, and if I'm not, we've been asked to pull 3A, B, and E2. With those, that will leave C, D, and E. E1, if I can get a motion to approve those.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second?
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Unanimous?
All right. 3A, Mr. Commissioner Booth.
Thank you. Also, don't have any real problem with it since everybody's mulled it over and we've been talking about doing this for a long period of time. It's just, it's not ever going to be a good time. And we had, for the last almost year, picked this year to be the good time. And it went from being the time to not being the time. And I'm just not in favor of dragging this thing out over and over again.
Which one that's not the sales tax. Now, this is the tax collection.
Oh, I'm sorry.
3A.
All right.
3A is the tax collection. It's
Okay.
not- I pulled
I saw-
3B. 3B is the sales
Okay.
tax, but 3A is.
I'll save that.
And these are the ones that, and these towns, Linden, Falcon, Hope Mills have already signed theirs, voted on it, and sent back.
Okay.
We're waiting for the other towns This is the approval of the property tax collection agreement.
I apologize.
So
I
you're
just
okay
got
with
through
that?
reading
All right, so you're okay with that?
the letter from everybody about asking us to change it. Yeah,
All right,
okay.
that's 3A. All right, so
Move
since
we
you're on it.
approve 3A.
Well,
I move.
second. It's been moved and seconded, to approve the consideration and approval of the property tax collection agreement with the towns of Linden, Falcon, and Hope Mills. All those in favor?
Unanimous?
All right, Mr. Booth, I'm gonna let you go to E2, which is the historic Orange Street School Restoration Project.
Yeah, this is just a personal thing. I can't get an answer to what, we haven't done any bids, any lets, any requests for anything, and where the figure came up with. We got a sheet last week that just said like 8 chairs at $200 a chair, but there was no bids.
This is the one that came through the agenda setting conference that Mike Gibson did.
Yeah, 360, wasn't it?
350, I think it was.
350? Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not a Parks and Rec, it's not a splash pad or a pool or anything like that. I understand there's gonna be a recording studio in there. And I don't know how that does for 300,000 plus citizens in the county. I was on the board of, in fact, Ron was too, of the Boys and Girls Club. And we give them like $7,000 or $10,000 a year. And they deal with hundreds of kids countywide as daycare after school, and then basically babysitting during the summer, where you have an adult watching them, feeding them. The volunteers are retired military and help them with stuff that at the end of the year they didn't quite get, or even during the school year, they help them with homework and everything. And we give them $7,000 to $10,000 for the whole year for hundreds of kids. So $300,000 has to ring the bell for me a little bit more than tables, chairs, and a recording studio. And I don't even know, do we own it? So that's what I'm saying, we don't even own it. Who's gonna fund it after we give them the money, when the chairs break?
It will be an agreement with the city Department of Recreation.
Cumberland County Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, well,
Thank you.
that's, okay.
Commissioner Booth, if I can get a motion to approve,
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
if I can get a second?
Second?
It's been moved and second. All those in favor?
Voting in favor, Commissioner Fairclough, Commissioner Council, Commissioner Adams, and Commissioner Keefe. Voting in opposition, Commissioner Booth.
All right. That does take us to the item that I pulled, which is B, which is consideration of the approval of the interlocal agreement for sales tax distribution. I actually just pulled that. I'm in agreement with it. I think our interim county manager, when she was there, Ms. Pascal, and then county manager, is in agreement for us to be able to do this. But I didn't want it to be buried into a consent agenda because of the fact that there's been a lot of stuff in the press as to this board and draconian efforts that we were going to do to go from per capita to ad valorem, which is in the best interest of the county and all the citizens of this county. But we did hear from these small towns and these small municipalities in terms of, and I think the interim county manager is going to put up in terms of what they were going to lose. If you just go through that slide for us just for a moment. This is the one you were
I
Well, you don't have it. But you
have
get
it on the screen.
Okay.
I have it on my computer.
Yes, ma'am.
So the city of Fayetteville was set to lose $9.7 million a year. Eastover, $646,000. Falcon, $72,000. Godwin, $13,200. Hope Mills, almost $9 million. Linden, $21 million. Spring Lake.
Linden. No, wait, Linden can't be 21 million, though.
I'm sorry.
Audit.
21,000. Yeah, I doubt their budget's anywhere near there. I'm sorry about that.
That might be bigger than their budget, I'm not sure.
It probably is. Spring Lake, about $1 million. Stedman, $167,000, and Wade, just shy of $100,000.
Okay. And the reason I pull this is that for those small municipalities, it may not sound like a lot, but for their budgets in terms of what they were going to lose in the short term and having to do this, and it would have been a 14-month period for them to be able to do it. This board was looking at giving early action to it, so if they had to adjust this budget and the next budget. But we came to my fellow commissioners understood that, and I think the proposal that this board put forth, which is to leave it at the 2022 rate and then to take the 100% of the growth from this point on, which is a gamble for this board. If there's no growth, we get nothing. If there's growth, we get the 100% of it. So even at this particular point, and I would ask that, I don't know if you have it in front of you, what the county was losing or would have gained had we done this.
So if the county had gone to ad valorem, next year we would have lost, between the county and the school system, $9.7 million. So we would have had that shortfall next fiscal year.
But then after that, we would have gained.
We would have gained, but if you look at a three-year period, we're better off doing the agreement than not doing the agreement.
And I don't know if this goes back to Commissioner Keith. I don't know if you were on City Council when they did the Big Bang, which is kind of when this sales tax agreement came along. I think Commissioner Fairclough and Commissioner Council was there at that particular time to undergird these small towns. So the reason I'd say this is that I thought it was disingenuous to the people out there who were talking about this board and my fellow commissioners as to us being ready just to do in these small towns and these municipalities, which was far from the truth. I think if you look around the state, that besides Durham County, which only has one city within it, and one other of the large metropolitan areas, everybody else is doing ad valorem except for us, and that's because of what we did for these small towns. And so I just wanted to make sure it wasn't buried in the consent agreement. I think we all in agreement that this new sales tax agreement will work, and it will work to the benefit of these towns. Commissioner Keith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, I would encourage, this is something that has been going on and on and on for 15 years, that it keeps going. And to Ms. Pascal, who at the beginning said, who would lose, I think it's important to understand, don't just read the headline. You got to get down deep and to see, because although some people would have lost, the people that would have gained would have been the school system. They would have gotten more money, correct?
Yes.
The Parks and Rec groups would have gotten more money. So it's not like this, it's not all just cut and dried to where one person's winning and one person's losing. And it's very, very complicated. It's like an onion. There's lots of layers to this, and sometimes you cry. But when you get down to the end of it, this seems to be the program that has worked best across the state for everybody. And I'll just put it out there. What any elected official does not want to do is raise taxes. Okay, so everybody's trying to fight for what they got so they don't have to raise taxes. But this program seems to work, that it's a best balance for the school system, for Parks and Recreation that we're talking about now with like Orange Street School and some other things. But also the municipalities have time to be able to prepare. Thank you.
I will also note that there is a statement in the contract that the towns and the city signed that says the Board of Commissioners intends to go to the ad valorem distribution method effective for fiscal year 26.
Thank you. Commissioner Booth.
Yeah, that's why I just wanted to put that in there. It's not like we're not going to. So they're not going to jump on the bandwagon between now and 26. We don't know what the financial condition is going to be in 2 years. We know what it is now. We knew down to point such and such what everybody was going to lose, gain, transfer, and everything else, and it's just not going to get any better. Like I said, we told them it's not going to be this year, but in 2 years we are, and we've kind of been doing that for 15 years.
Now, but they've signed a contract with that statement in it.
That's
so
right.
that is, I think, the difference.
That's
Okay.
Right.
Real soon.
Commissioner Fairclough.
If I can add just some historical value here, I think what gets lost in the whole discussion, particularly among those who have been so willing to hang the county out to dry without any due consideration of the real facts, the cities and towns in Cumberland County that annexed population relative to the county, when the people didn't leave the county, but when the cities annexed physical area, they annexed people. So when you're dividing stuff up on a per capita basis, that favors the annexor. So the cities and towns that annexed people got money as a result of the per capita method of distribution. Now, when the Big Bang came along, what, in '03 and '05, somewhere, and there was a couple of them, when that happened, the county was standing to lose so much that we said, whoa, no. We can go with ad valorem and eliminate the problem. So for 20 years, the cities and towns have had a windfall as a result of their annexation, and the agreement that's been in effect for that whole 20 years paid the county back some, up to a half, and then it went to 40%, just so it would not affect the county as much as it was going to. So this is just an agreement that's kind of run its course, and for the next 26 months, a version of the agreement will still be in effect, and then it will revert to ad valorem. So everybody's had plenty of notice. We've talked about it. We almost did it 5 years ago, but we've drug it to this point, and we're going to drag it for 26 more months. That's really all this is, and the windfall period has stretched probably a little too far, and now it's going back the other way.
And I think my last comment, because I did hear a couple of, because at least 2 of the towns had some people that it wasn't unanimous, which they didn't understand the difference between property tax and sales tax. This is sales tax, has nothing to do with property tax, so we have to make sure that folk understand that. So if I can get a motion to approve the agreement. Anybody?
I move the agreement.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All of those in favor?
Unanimous?
All right. Thank you. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I just got a text from Madam Chairwoman who says she is about 10 minutes out. So we're going to take about a 10-minute break so that we don't go into our zoning cases and items of business to be able to do that. So let's just be in recess for about 10 minutes. These yours. I'm putting on your glasses. All right, so now we're back after our 10-minute break, and I'm regulated back to my second chair, so I'm no longer in charge. So, Madam Chairwoman, welcome back from D.C. and a full whirlwind day with the Department of Energy.
Yes, thank you so much, and my apologies for being late, but you know how that is. And so, thank you for waiting. Thanks for the break. This is absolutely important to me. So we will go on, and we are our recognition. If I could have Miss Vivian Tooks come forward, please. She waited patiently. She did wait patiently, and I appreciate it. As you all know, it is National Women's History Month. So in honor of that, I wanted to take the opportunity to recognize the longest-serving Cumberland County employee, which is Miss Vivian Tooks. In October, she will have served with the county for 41 years. If we can give her a round of applause. Absolutely deserves a standing ovation. She is absolutely worthy of this recognition. Absolutely. In October the 1st, 1982, she was hired as an eligibility specialist, 1, in AFDC eligibility. In 85, she was promoted to social worker 2. In 93, she was a lateral 2 social worker 2 in jobs or JOBS, one of the two. In 94, she was promoted to social worker 2. In 99, promoted to social work program manager. In 2012, she was promoted to social work program administrator 1 in economic service. In 13, the position was reclassed to social work program administrator 2. 19, she was promoted to assistant director in human services and economic services. In July the 3rd, 2022, her position was reclassified to social work program Administrator 2 in Economic Services due to agency reorganization. So at this time, the Board of Commissioners wants to thank you for your years of service and present you with this certification. It says Certificate of Appreciation. This certificate is presented to Vivian Tooks in grateful recognition for over 40 years of dedicated and faithful service to Cumberland County. Your dedication, time, and talent are vital to the Department of Social Services and to the people and families that you assist. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, does that mean we get another 40?
She's working like that. Did you get a picture?
Well, let her get up.
We hired her when she was sick.
It's just a minute, yeah. I'll do a photo bomb.
He did. He did Glenn photo bomb.
Okay, we're going to take some pictures of the board.
Well, either that or it's gonna be just Glenn.
That's right.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3.
Can the ladies come on up? Y'all can come up. They want to take a picture. They want to do that. I know they wanted the picture. I know they wanted the picture. Come on up here.
I thought that was the 71st Martin.
Oh, don't you say that. You gonna get them more votes, boy. I'm getting me some votes. That's why. Come on up here.
Can all the judges come up? We're coming.
Y'all come on in. Y'all sisters, y'all get a little closer. I ain't little closer. Yeah, you some of them did.
Everybody, 1, 2, 3.
That's because I like that red one. I like that red one.
They've been here a long time waiting too.
There's two. And Miss Vivian. You gonna come on around and shake his hand?
You're in charge. You're in charge. Vivian, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for staying with the county.
Enjoy some more.
Oh, Jesus. She's going to say a couple of words.
I understand, I heard the word 3 minutes, and a lot of people know me. I will not be long-winded tonight. But, you know, when you start thinking about time and where were you and what were you thinking, and I can't tell you, in the years that I've had here at DSS, I've had a lot of good thoughts, and I've enjoyed myself beyond anything you can imagine. So I just want to say to you, I'm honored, and I have had the privilege of standing before you this afternoon and listening to all the things that have gone on around me. But I can always say that we are all truly blessed, and I know I was truly blessed to have the opportunity to be working at Department of Social Services for the past 40 years. I don't know where the time went. I've been having a good time. I enjoy my staff, the community, and the one thing I love more than anything is my ability to make a difference in the lives of people. Above all, I want to thank 2 incredible, incredible women. They're my angels now, on whose shoulders that I stand at this time and will always stand. My grandmother,
Miss Frankie Henrietta Smith McBride, and my mother, Miss Dorothy McBride Barnes. These women instilled in me strong work ethics, integrity, self-discipline, and to never, never give up on a dream. My family, who have been very supportive to me in so many ways during these years and have been all a part of my journey. I have 2 children, Frederick and my daughter Elena, and my late husband Willie. I will say that Willie is nothing that he wouldn't do for Cumberland County DSS. I think he enjoyed it more than I did. I want to acknowledge my schools. The one that in my heart, E.E. Smith. I was in the class of 1970, Fayetteville State University. And the one thing about Fayetteville State, when I was a little girl, going to Washington Drive, my mom a lot of times didn't have that 15 cents to give me. And so what I did is I would walk. And halfway there, I would go through the campus of Fayetteville State, and I would sit down on the benches and pretend I was one of the students. And I would say to myself, I was only in the 9th grade, I'll be back one day. And I thank the Lord that I went into the military, the Women's Army Corps, and I was able to come back at a later time for school. You know, dreams are sometimes delayed, but do not ever forget your dream. I would like to also extend my sincere thanks to my leadership, past and present. You never forget who lifted you up. Barbara Brooks hired me on October the 1st, 1982, as an eligibility specialist 1. Richard Everett was my supervisor for 26 years. Douglas Smith, Marvin Rouse, Larry Moore, and our directorships, Chip Modlin, Bill Scarlett, Heather Skeens, and Brenda Reed Jackson. Thank you. Thank everybody. Cumberland County, we know we're simply the best, and we got to do the best for our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, as the chairwoman of this board and the vice chairwoman of the board of DSS, it gives me great pleasure tonight to recognize our social workers. So do we have any Cumberland County social workers here? If you could stand, please.
Yeah, stand up. That's good too. Once a social worker, always a social worker.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I just wanted to, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. We have our chair of the Board of DSS, Mr. Bill Duke, here with us tonight. Welcome, Mr. Duke. Thank you for coming, and thank you for your continued support of the Department of Social Services. So at this time, you all can sit down. At this time, I would read our proclamation. It says, whereas social workers enter the profession because they have a strong desire to help and empower individuals, families, communities, and our nation overcome issues that prevent them from reaching their full potential. And whereas social workers have worked for more than a century to improve the well-being and enhance the basic needs of all people. And whereas social workers follow a code of ethics that call on them to fight social injustice and respect the dignity and worth of all people. They have helped this nation live up to its values by advocating for equal rights for all, including people of color, people who are indigenous, I can't say that word, say it, indigenous, say it. Thank you.
Yeah, indigenous.
That word.
Indigenous. Which one you got?
I can't say it, no matter how you.
Indigenous.
I can't repeat it enough.
That's
I can't.
okay.
Okay. Still can't say it. People who are LGBTQIAS plus and people who follow various faiths. And whereas social workers positively touch the lives of millions of Americans each day in a variety of places, including schools, hospitals, the military, child welfare agencies, community centers, and in federal, state, and local government. And whereas social workers are the largest group of mental health care providers in the United States, they are on the front lines of the nation's opioid addiction crisis, assist with recovery from natural disasters, and help people cope with death and grief. And whereas social work is one of the fastest growing careers in the United States, with around 708,000 social workers today and more than 60,000 social workers expected to enter the profession over the next decade. And whereas in 2023 Social Work Month theme, Social Work Breaks Barriers, embodies how social workers help empower individuals, families, communities in our society. Social workers continue to push for change that make our society a better place to live. Now, therefore, we, the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim March 2023 as Social Worker Month in Cumberland County and call upon all citizens to honor and support the social work profession. Adopted this 20th day of March 2023, signed by myself, Dr. Tony Stewart, Chairwoman of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. Thank you for all that you continue to do. Okay, that takes me now to my public hearing.
Yes.
We'll give you all a chance to go. Okay, County Manager.
Good evening,
If you could
Chairwoman
read the
Stewart.
public comment policy.
Okay. Tonight, we have two rezoning cases. The guidelines for public hearing are as follows. Arguments by the proponents and opponents should be limited to a maximum of 10 minutes for each side. If there's no group representative, each speaker shall be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes until the 10-minute time limit is attained. Rebuttals will only be permitted at the discretion of the chairwoman, with a maximum of 1 3-minute presentation by each side.
Okay, we will now,
Wait a minute, one last thing. Our Planning and Inspections Director, Ross Howard, will provide an overview of both of the public hearings before they're open.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. County Manager. Good evening, Commissioners.
Mr. Howard, we're going to move on to, not move on. We are on zoning case 220080.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
Okay.
So, just the PowerPoint queued up here. So as you stated, this is case ZON 22-0080. Before I get started, I would like to recognize that we have Mr. Stan Crumpler, who is the chairman of our planning board, in the audience, who is here this evening. So this first case that you can see by the location map that you see before you with the star is fairly centrally located in Cumberland County, situated between the city of Fayetteville and Eastover off of Sweetie Road. The applicant and the owner is Mr. Herbert Dukes, the agent's Gerald Kennan. The request is to go from A1 agricultural to R40A. R40A is our standard basic 1 acre lot. The difference between the R40 and the R40A is that the R40A does allow for manufactured homes. So the intent for this owner is to, as you can see by, let me get the pointer here, by the highlighted, you can see Sweetie Road here. Sweetie Road here to the south. You can see Custer Avenue here. Sits somewhat right at the Fayetteville city limits, but it's these 3 lots that you see that are in the configuration. The back lot is a landlocked piece of property, and then you have 2 lots that are sitting right here. Combined, it's about a 3.1 acres for the request. So this is the subject property, fairly rural out in this particular area, but it's pretty much single family, and there is the River Road Community Center that sits just across the street from this site. So when you look at the zoning, again, there's a single-family home that sits. It's all zoned A1. There is another R40A that is just down the road from here on Sweetie Road. There's a manufacturing zoning district just right around the corner on Custer Avenue. The intent of the owner, at least as it was expressed to staff, is the owner wishes to take all 3 lots. He would recombine it into 1 lot. which would thus fix the non-conforming situation that you have with the back property, and then split it in order to be able to put a home on the back part of the land, a second home. There are some presence of hydric soils out in the area. There is a water line that is to this particular piece of property, but there is no sewer, so they would have to go through the process of obtaining a septic permit. This particular piece of property is within the Eastover land use plan area. The plan itself calls for rural density residential with a density of 30,000 square foot cap, or I should say a floor. So the R40 being more than 30,000 square feet would be plan compliant with the plan. So this is standing on the subject property. I was going to call the attention to the location map here, but you can see there is a driveway that runs through the middle of the property. That long, slender lot that sits to the eastern part or the eastern edge of the property is basically this stand of trees that you see to the right. The driveway itself kind of hugs the property line and then goes back to the property in the back. So again, there's the existing single-family home that sits on the site. When we go back into the property, there was some structures that were back here that were taken down, but currently there's no homes in the back. There are these Connex-type cargo containers that you see back there for storage, but for the most part, it's just wide open with no structures on there. This is the east view looking on Sweetie Road. You can see there's the sign that we put out as customary for state statute requirements for public notification. This is looking south on Sweetie Road, immediately across the street. And this is the west view looking back in the opposite direction along Sweetie Road. So staff had recommended approval of the request. When we took this to the planning board at last month's meeting, it was a unanimous vote of 6-0 to support staff's recommendation of approval. And I'll try to answer any questions that you have.
Are there any questions? Okay, we will now open a public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers.
We will close the public hearing. Being there no questions or any discussion,
Madam Chairwoman, in case zoning 2280, I move to approve the rezoning request from A1 Agriculture District to R40A Residential District and find that the request is consistent with the Eastover Land Use Plan, which calls for rural density residential at this location. The request is reasonable and in the public interest as the requested district is compatible to and in harmony with the surrounding land use activities and zoning, and was approved by the staff and the planning board 6-0.
Second.
it's been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
Thank you. We'll now move on to zoning case 230002. Mr. Howard.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairwoman. So again, this case, let me open up the presentation. You can see that this case is located just off of Highway 87. It's pretty much down in the Grays Creek area, just south of the city of Fayetteville, as you can see indicated by the star on the location map here. The applicant owner is Jajik Mamie. I'm going to try to pronounce that correctly. The agent is PAMI Remodeling Company Incorporated. So the request is essentially for this subdivision that you see, which I'll get into more detail here in just a second, is to go from CD Conservancy Conditional Use District to R15 CUD Conditional Use District. The intent is to place 2 single-family homes on the 2 lots that are in this existing subdivision for just a little over a half acre of land. So this is the Village at Rock Creek subdivision that you see here. So these 2 lots sit at the end of the cul-de-sac, but you can see pretty much outside of this subdivision, it's a lot of rural open area that's out here. This particular piece of property, as I said, for that subdivision is R15 CUD, but these 2 lots back in the back, as you can see, are split. There's a conservancy district that was put in place that at the time followed the 100-year floodplain. There's R15 CUD here, which covers the first half of the property. The back half is the CD CUD. They went through the FEMA process to get what they call a letter of map revision based off of fill, which would remove the floodplain off of the properties, thus the request to take the conservation district off in order to be able to build the 2 homes on the property. I would like to point out as a technical correction in your staff report that this is a previously approved 0 lot line subdivision. The staff report does say the standard R15 setbacks and so forth for this, but If there are questions about the setbacks, I can be able to answer those questions in specific because I do have that information. So I'll be happy to provide that if there's an interest in that. So there are no hydric soils for the most part on these two pieces of property. There is water and sewer to the entire subdivision. These next two slides I'm going to show you were the documentations that they submitted to FEMA in order to obtain what they call the LOMR for the property. So this is the first lot in question on the front. They have filled in the lots in the back, so they've submitted that, and FEMA has approved that based off the fill, the floodplain line now hugs the back part of the property, and so it's no longer in the floodplain. Similarly, for the lot right next door to it, this is what the area did look like for the floodplain that was there, but again, it has been filled and properly documented with FEMA to remove it out of the floodplain. When we looked at the open space, or at the plan for this is in the South Central Land Use Plan, which calls for open space and low-density residential. So the motion that you have before you tonight, if you decide to approve it, would be to amend just the green area to take the open space off the property and make the entire subdivision conform to the same land use designation, which would be low-density residential. So this is standing at the end of the cul-de-sac. You can see that these are the two lots that are in question here. I'll do over here as well too. But the lots have been filled, so they're pretty much pad ready. This is the north view again, just looking at it somewhat of at like a different angle for Mannington Drive. With the again, you can see the zoning sign that we place out there to conform with state statute advertising requirements. This is the southeast view looking onto Mannington Drive. You can see the existing subdivision. And then for the most part, this subdivision is largely built out. So you can just look on the southwest view down the street to see all the homes that have been constructed in there. When staff is supporting this request, when we took it to the planning board at last month's meeting, they supported the request by, again, a unanimous 6-0 vote. So I'll try to answer any questions that you have.
What subdivision is this?
Village at Rockfish.
Okay.
I believe that's what I said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner Adams.
I just have the one question. I know that PWC water and sewer or utilities are available, but they don't have to tap onto those.
I believe they would have to tap onto those. Yes, sir, they
Are we
would.
sure?
It's with the subdivision ordinance, yeah. Requires it, if it's available.
Are there any other questions? We open up the public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
We have one speaker, Mr. Thomas Gooden, in favor of.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name's Thomas Gooden. I live at 2214 Mirror Lake Drive here in Fayetteville. I'm just here to answer any questions that might be involved or have any concerns in this. There is public water and sewer that were put in place when the street was built, and the taps are already there. It's just a matter of paying the fees and hooking on, so everything's in place for that. Everything was properly permitted. It went through all the legal chains of response. There's actually been compaction tests on the lot to make sure that the lots are build ready, and that everything is compacted properly for any construction as far as residential use. And other than that, that's all I have to say. Any questions y'all might have?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other speakers?
We have one speaker opposed,
Okay.
Mr. Joshua Delgado.
Mr. Delgado? Okay, not present, and that was our only speaker.
That is our only speaker.
We will close the public hearing. Commissioner Fairclough.
Madam Chair, in the case of ZON-23-0002, I move to approve the rezoning request from CD/CUD Conservancy Conditional Use District to R15/CUD Residential Conditional Use District and find one, the approval is an amendment to the adopted current South Central Land Use Plan, and the Board of Commissioners should not require any additional request or application for amendment and map to this request. 2, the applicant has obtained a letter of map revision from FEMA to remove the flood boundaries from the affected lots. And 3, the existing land use plan designation of open space is based off the pre-existing flood hazard lines, not the recently approved FEMA flood hazard lines. The request is reasonable and in the public interest, as the requested district would be compatible to and in harmony with the surrounding land use activities and zoning.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you. We will now move on to items of business. Mr. Manager Greer, if you would introduce the next item.
Yes, the first item, 5A, consideration of the April 13, 2023 agenda schedule change.
The NCACC rescheduled our event that was supposed to happen in March, and they have requested that we do the NCACC annual district meeting on April 13th. In order for us to accommodate that, we would have to move our agenda session from Thursday to Tuesday.
Are there any questions, discussion? Commissioner Keith?
Yeah, I just want to put on for the record, that is the fourth time this year that we've moved from Thursday to Tuesday.
Yes, it is.
Why don't we just move to Tuesday? I mean, it's fourth time. What's the sense of doing this? If it's not working, if Thursdays aren't working, then let's just change it. We haven't had a Thursday meeting all year. Okay, that's all I want to say.
Any other questions, discussions?
Motion,
I can
we
get a
move it
motion.
to that Tuesday, April 13th.
Is there, all those in favor?
Voting in favor, Commissioner Fairclough, Commissioner Council, Commissioner Stewart, Commissioner Adams, and Commissioner Booth. Opposed? Commissioner Keefe.
Thank you. We'll move on now to items of business 5B. Mr. Greer.
Yes, 5B is the consideration of the dates for the upcoming budget presentation and finalization. We anticipate presenting the budget on Thursday, May 25th, and then you see the following dates for the presentation, the work sessions, and the public hearings. And we just ask for approval of these dates.
Are there any questions or discussion?
Well, that June 5th, we meet twice. We meet that morning and then come back that afternoon. I mean,
One is an optional work session if we need it.
but you're going to have the budget public hearing that next, so we got to come back twice on that Monday. We have to come that morning, then we have to come again at 7 o'clock that evening, right? I'm just trying to get it straight. We
Just,
gotta-
Why don't we move that one to Tuesday? Okay, Thursday. Okay, Thursday.
Touche, yeah.
He got you, didn't he? I mean, that's just all day. I mean, well, I just bring that to your attention that we do meet that morning.
I agree.
Come back
I agree.
That afternoon. I don't know why we couldn't have it on that, that budget, public hearing on that, Wednesday.
Madam Chair, I got a question.
Yes.
We got a memo about the state is trying to push this thing through to let people know if, on the public hearing on budget and taxes or anything like that. That wouldn't take effect this year, would it? No, okay.
Thank
Thank
God.
you.
I mean, could we move that to the Wednesday?
the public hearing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a budget work session, just make it the budget public hearing and the optional work. I don't see why we need to come twice on that Monday.
I don't see why we need to mess, I'm sorry,
Commissioner Council.
mess with Tuesday.
I didn't do Tuesday. I skipped Tuesday, I just went to Wednesday.
Oh, okay. I'm
Madam
sorry.
Chair,
Commissioner Fairclough.
Thank you. One suggestion, Glenn, might be, let's have a work session after the public hearing. They're usually pretty short. If we don't have department heads charging out.
You talking about, but the problem is, that's in the morning, it's a morning meeting, and people at work, so I wouldn't want to have a public hearing while people couldn't get here. That doesn't make sense. You talking about that Monday morning?
No.
What day you talking about?
Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
The public, hold on.
The public hearing is actually,
is that Monday, June 5th?
yes, but it's at 7 p.m.
So
I
you want to
understand
move it
that. I
to,
got a morning meeting that morning.
Okay.
At 9 o'clock.
you're talking about moving to Wednesday, though,
Yeah, just
right?
move it to Wednesday at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I'm saying you could add, if you need a public, if you
Oh,
need
yeah,
a
the
work
optional.
session, you could have it
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah. So if we could change that, that's all I'd ask, is to move that public hearing to that Wednesday. So I have to come With that, I would, if we can do that, I'd move to approve that. Nobody has that.
Is there a second?
It's not a Tuesday, second.
I'll second it, but I'd ask exactly what it is we're voting on.
The motion is to,
Approve all the dates and move the, except for move the budget public hearing / optional budget work session to that Wednesday, June 7th.
At 7 o'clock?
At 7 o'clock, yes, not 5:30, 7 o'clock.
I will second it.
Okay.
it's been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Unanimous?
We just moved it. We just moved it. That seems to be all. No closed session.
Motion to adjourn, madam.
Is there a second? It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Unanimous.
Meeting adjourned.